Welcome to the Think Factory podcast. We got one question for you. What keeps you up at night?
Welcome back to the Think Factory podcast, powered by OGC Solutions. I'm your host, Chris Santomassimo from OGC Solutions, and I'm here in a super interesting place in Englewood, New Jersey at Artus Corporation. And I'm sitting across the table from Noah Katzenstein, who's the Vice President of Sales and Marketing. And I'm excited because this is another example of a company in our own backyard here in New Jersey with a really rich family history, doing some things that are, certainly modern in many ways, traditional in others, but really just an example of American manufacturing at its finest. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
So I think we got to know each other a little bit from some publicity about your company. It was I think your anniversary was coming up. But I would love for folks to get to know Artus, about what you do, the family history. So take it away and give us an intro.
Sure. Appreciate it. Yes, you mentioned we have an anniversary coming up. 2026 is going to be 85 years, which we're very proud of.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So we've been here since 1941. We actually started, our first location was actually on Wall Street, believe it or not. Times were very different then. I don't remember the exact year when we moved out here to Englewood, but we've been here for some decades now. And we produce color-coded shims, gaskets, and shim stock, and other precision flat pieces that you may need for any sort of industrial or mechanical application.
Well, tell folks in terms of the shim business. It's not like wood shim that you're used to.
No.
At least the furniture is a lot more specialized.
Yes, that's correct. The wood. If you Google shim, likely the first thing that you'll see would be like a wood shim for like a door or a construction shim, something like that for windows. What we do is we work with a lot of, like, in the power transmission industries or automotive and stuff like that, where you have rotating parts. And in order to do exact alignment, like on a gearbox or something like that, you need to have the wheels the gears exactly aligned. So we work in the fine precision. That's what we like to say. Our tagline is the color tells the thickness, and we work from half a thousandths all the way up to an eighth of an inch. Now, for most people, that seems an eighth of an inch seems really, really thin. In our industry, an eighth of an inch is like, whoa, that's thick, because we're working in the fine precision area.
Right. So 1,000th of an inch is what you're talking about. That's how fine some of the material is that you're using.
Believe it, half a thousandth. We go down to half a thousandth. Actually, even less than a thousandth.
Wow.
Less than half a thousandth. Excuse me.
So you're in automotive, you're in industrial machines,
We're everywhere. Yeah. So we were talking about this before. We serve whoever needs a thin piece, a thin shim, a thin gasket, a spacer, however they'd like to call it, arbor shim. Depending on the application, they'll use a different name, but it's there for flat applications, whatever the design is. I mean, our material could go up to 40 by 50, excuse me. So we're in a whole bunch of different industries, down to teeny tiny little washers with an OD as big as half an inch or even less, down to much bigger assemblies that require 48 inches.
Well, as we walked around your facility, the production floor, I was just amazed at the library of I call them forms, but you call them something.
Steel rule dies, yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's always the first thing that people notice when they walk in, and to us it's just quite literally part of the furniture.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we in order to keep costs down, we do the majority of our cutting using steel rule die. It's cheap, it's effective, and through 85 years we've perfected procedures and ways of using it that allow us to keep parts in spec and to not have to defer massive tooling costs onto to customers. And so it's noticeable because we keep and maintain our customers' tooling for them, and so over the years it starts to add up, and thank God we have many parts that we're able to cut at any given moment's notice.
That's amazing, because literally there's got to be tens of thousands of those dies in there.
Yeah, we're looking 40,000, 50,000 by rough estimate. And they might look very, very similar, but when you're talking about assembly on a shaft, a 1/16 of an inch difference on the ID, it could be make it or break it. If it doesn't make it, if it doesn't fit over the shaft, it doesn't fit over the shaft.
Right. So, tell me you don't really have a lot of competitors, from what I understand. I mean, there are some folks that make
there are some folks
similars, but not as they don't have the rich history and the long-term client relationships that Artus has.
For the most part, no. It's a bit of a niche industry, so there already aren't going to be that many people that do it. There are a few others that do similar or comparable kind of products here in the U.S. But what we like to think what sets us apart is both our materials and our commitment to quality and producing in the United States, which has become more and more relevant in today's economy. It's very commonly discussed being produced here in the U.S. But our materials is what we like to think separates us apart. The reliability on thickness and thin and size and spec, and the color coding is an incredible asset for assembly managers and assembly technicians when they're on the job. It's not an exact science,
right,
always, depending on what the application it's going into. They know that they need to shim something up. They shim up an assembly, but they won't know exactly how many thousandths of an inch they need, what thickness they want. Sometimes they like to stack it up, or sometimes they like to have one larger, thicker one. And so having the color-coded material really saves an immense amount of time, because by picking up the part, you know exactly what thickness you're picking up. You have no reason to pull out any measuring instruments, no micrometers needed. You know you're picking up red, it's going to be 2,000. No need to measure.
Right. And what I love about that system, it's so simple. Your predecessor generations figured out that we got to be super precise in how we manufacture the products, but have to make it usable and simple for the user. Exactly.
It's so simple, and sometimes that's the simplest things. Are the best things, because you don't need to teach anything. There's no training that needs to be done. We send them a card that's got our chart. It's available on our website. It's available everywhere. You could always reference it. It's easily available. And you just put it up there on the pegboard along next to the shims, and before you grab it, you know what you're picking up.
Right.
Yeah.
And the solution-based problem that you solve for is, again, you've got speed and agility, where people don't need to measure it, figure it out, and think about it. It just becomes almost a reflex, right?
That's exactly it. Exactly. And we don't do color coding on our steels. And we've had customers that have begged us to, like, can you please do it? It's such a, sometimes they've got different lines where the material requirements are different, so they're so used to plastic, and then they come across something where they need to use steel, and they're like, oh gosh, now we got to whip out the micrometer again.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So you spoiled your customers at the end of the day.
Hey, right? That's what we're here to do.
That's right. So. This is the second company in New Jersey that I've interviewed today that has made a point about U.S.-based manufacturing. That's going to be a huge differentiator for you in terms of cycle time, lead times, availability, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. We could get into today's current economic environment with tariffs and all of that, but even before we get to that, when we're really backed up, we're looking, and we're tight on lead times. We're looking at 3-4 weeks. That's what we call, oh gosh, I hope they're okay with it. It's kind of late. We've got turnaround here. We're on the foothills of New York City. We're right here by the I-95 corridor. Shipping is no problem whatsoever in terms of accessibility to any carrier. They'll come within minutes if we really need them to, and we're able to get the stuff out as quickly as possible. Now, on the material side of things, especially nowadays when it comes to U.S. based, we've worked with our suppliers for many, many years. So we've built up that reliability and just that relationship that they'll work and move with us in this kind of crazy environment. And we're able to source almost every single raw material from the United States. Not exactly everything, but all of our manufacturing, all the products, everything is manufactured here in the USA. And even before it became fashionable, that's what we've been doing. We've always found that it's just simpler and easier. We don't have to worry about crazy supply chains and stuff like that. Even during COVID, the height of those supply chain crises, we were able to operate mostly business as usual because we weren't waiting for ships that were stuck in, who knows where.
Right. Yeah, to operate by truck and train in terms of getting your supplies had to be just amazingly more simple compared to some of your competitors.
Yeah, absolutely. It really allowed us to be flexible in a really crazy and challenging time. And proof is in the pudding. We're still here.
Yeah,
right. If you can't deliver, you won't survive. Not 5 years. Forget 85 years.
Well, think about the things that you've overcome since 1941. I mean, in terms of not just economic disruptions, but war and all kinds of other events that you've survived.
Yeah, we've been here through a whole bunch of different iterations of what quote-unquote American manufacturing looks like. And again, that just leads to no experience goes without learning a lesson, and we've been able to soak up all of that knowledge and that expertise over the years. And there's always something. If something happens, we could always reference back and be like, okay, well, what did they do then? How did that work? How bad is it really?
But your job also is to modernize the company in some ways, but while you still want to respect you called it the blood that's in everything in terms of your family history. So how do you balance that as a young executive?
It's a great question. It's true. There is blood in everything, and that's not just here on the ownership / executive side of things. That really goes down to every single employee over here. I mean, we took a walk through the factory before. It was right before lunch, so not everyone was at their station. But we have grandchildren, aunts, uncles, church groups. Everyone. It's really a family environment and a family atmosphere from A to Z, not just within my own family and our partners. So that really adds to the feel and the culture of working around here. Now, as it relates to modernizing and bringing things into the digital era and AI and all of that kind of stuff, I think the perspective that I like to take is not tear down to build, is to how can we tweak, how can we shift and move. The product works. Excuse me. The product works. Our process works. Now, with the tools that we're given in 2025, how can we use them to put a fresher and a more efficient twist on what we're doing already to better deliver for our customers and to get even better our quality, our compliance, all those kind of things. That's what we're looking at here.
It's got to be a big. I don't want to use the term burden because I know you love what you do, but this responsibility maybe where you're taking the baton from the prior generations, but supporting them at the same time. And working with them, and they're helping you, and they're part of that team. That's a big responsibility.
It is, but I don't view it so much as me supporting them so much as we're all supporting each other. It's actually a really great dynamic that we have right now, where everyone's on board. Everyone wants, no one here that's currently working here founded the company, so they understand the same perspective that I have. They once had too, right. And so there's this idea of like, hey, let's not mess this up. First of all,
well, that's what we mean about responsibility.
Yeah, let's not mess it up. But everyone's on the same page as it comes to that. Now, are there sometimes differences of opinion? How do we shift and move? Is this tweak worth it? Because also it's important to remember we are a small business. We're a small company. We've got 35 employees here. One location. We do everything out of these offices here. So the resources are not always there. It's very easy. We were talking about automation before, and it's not always easy to just say, hey, that's it. We're automating. Pack up. We're bringing in all these fancy new technologies. we have to take a slow approach. So, when it comes to bringing in new machinery, we were showing you the water jet. We brought that in 3 to 4 years ago. I don't remember exactly when that was. And that was a big deal for us. It wasn't just like, we brought in new machines, the replacements, old ones, additional to what we've had already. But this is a completely new technology that we've never worked with before, and we decided that this was the time. It allows us to be more flexible on some of our lines that we provide for our customers. And it was worth it. It was worth the investment in both time and money. Bringing in a new machine, it takes time to get it up and running, and we don't always have the resources to ship off, 3-4 people for a week to do training.
Right.
So it took some time, maybe a little longer than others would have to get it up and running. But now it's up and running, and it's been up and running for a few years now, and we're seeing it pay off.
That's the major decision point that a smaller business needs to make all the time. There's a lot of fancy technology, but not can we afford it. That's not the right question to ask. But more about what's our ROI going to look like? How long is it going to take? What kind of disruption does it cause? And then what's the benefit to customers at the end of the day? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it fleeting? Is it unknown?
Exactly. We bounce that around a whole bunch all the time, because our systems are so built in, I think is the word I want to use there. Our costs are very low. Our prices. Our customers don't often, fight back on price because it's very fair, and it's quite often below what the market is willing to offer them. And so that really leans into that question that you were just talking about of yes, we can do it quicker, possibly. Now, how much quicker, and what will be the upfront cost to make it worth really shaving? How much are we shaving off over here? And in the meantime, we're going to be losing on lead time. There's going to be upfront costs that we're going to have to build into it. It doesn't always make sense to go to the big, flashy new technology that's available.
Well, you've got equipment on there that's on the floor that's decades old too.
Oh yeah.
The newer equipment, while it's interesting, doesn't always last nearly as long either.
That too. If anyone ever doubts, good old fashioned American machinery to see if it stands the test of time, come take a tour over here. We've got some machines that they're working every single day. They're not just there as museum pieces. They're there.
And they're making really precision parts at the end of the day.
Yeah, and the credit goes to our technicians that they really know what they're doing. They really know how to feel the machine. You're talking about this massive 100-ton press. But they know, they could touch, they could feel, they see it, and they're able to really hone in to get the cut just right.
And they know when it's not feeling correct, either when it's not right, it means
exactly.
Something, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
That's amazing, isn't it?
It is.
It's just like, I guess, when you drive a car, you get a feel for the car. Same thing with these big presses.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to think that we're spoiled in that sense, is that, every operator knows their machine better than any maintenance guy ever will,
Yeah, don't discount those maintenance guys.
Oh no, absolutely. But it allows us, I feel like I've used this word so much, it allows us to be really flexible, because not every time that a machine goes down for, a minute or two, does it mean, okay, we get lined down, we got to open this thing up. Most of the time we're like, oh no, I know what this is.
Yeah.
And we're just able to of course adjust it.
Yeah,
and
then tweak it or whatever.
And then keep on going.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, and it goes back to that, decades-long experience for your employees too. They've been here and happy and
years and years
doing their parts, right?
Yeah,
for sure. Besides all of the noise in the marketplace now in terms of tariffs and import issues, but when you put all that aside, what do you see as helpful in the market, difficult in the market, and where do you see, or how do you see that playing into your strategy as you try and grow and continue on?
So it's a great question. I could talk about that. I could answer that for a half hour on its own. So let's putting tariffs aside. We have this whole new age of AI, and everyone loves talking about AI. What is it? How are we going to use it? Is it going to replace jobs? Is it going to change jobs? All those questions, I don't have the answers to those. I just do my best to stay on top of what's the latest and, see where things go. So that's always going to be a top of mind when asking a question like that nowadays. But, challenges that we see in the market that I'm sure are no different from many other companies across many other industries. We have regulation and compliance. That could sometimes be a pretty serious drag on companies, especially small ones where we don't have a designated compliance officer that spends all day staying on top of everything. So that could sometimes slow us down, especially with customers that really need their documentation down to the T from the very beginning. That could sometimes slow us down. But we do our best. We've been doing a little bit more training here and there, spreading the knowledge across everyone here in the office in a way that allows everyone to be clued in to knowing what's going on in the regulatory market. As the reshoring happens, or it's being spoken about happening, costs are going up, and that of course is not unique to us in our industry. That's something that is always a concern top of mind.
Is that because raw material prices are rising?
Raw material prices are rising, and it's great. We don't have to find new suppliers because we've been sourcing most of our stuff here for decades. But the costs are going up. The demand goes
up.
Exactly. So that's something that's always a concern. That's something that we keep an eye out. Of course, a company of our size, we always worry about the quote unquote big guys swallowing some of us up. But we've stood the test of time. I think people understand and appreciate what we bring to the market as our own standalone business.
It's a great way to do it. I mean, you're looking behind the rocks or under the rocks, but at the same time, you're sort of riding the wave in a successful way too.
Yeah, we're oftentimes we have to ride the wave, whether for good or for bad, because we could only produce shims for machinery or gearboxes if it's designed in. I can't convince someone that they need a shim. That's the difference when it comes out from a sales standpoint. It is what it is. Either you have a need for it or you don't have a need for it. I can't convince you. I'm not selling software.
Right.
So that's a challenge. Certain industries are designing shims into their designs less than they have in the past. It's one less item that they need to buy, so there's some advantage to it. On the other hand, depending on what it is, there's long-term effects by not using shims. You don't need to buy the shim, but hey, what kind of wear and tear are you putting on your parts by not using them? And also, of course, there's new industries that are going to be popping up. Like we mentioned with AI, you're going to have a lot of automation, a lot of robotics, and a lot of different stuff that didn't exist in the market, 10, 15 years ago that are going to start coming onto the market, on a much bigger scale.
Right. Yeah, it's you're right to be thinking about those overalls or sort of macro concepts, but at the end of the day, you're also doing a lot of things on a micro level that I was impressed with, like introducing your products to new engineers as they train in college, for example. So they've got you and artists in their minds as they're thinking about designing new products and new processes. Absolutely,
and I think it's more relevant nowadays than it might have been in the past, because in the past you didn't have access to the internet. It wasn't as easy to do research to find products, or even just if you didn't even know what you were looking for, you wouldn't necessarily be able to find it instead of just by asking someone. Now with the internet, sometimes I get concerned that you're not going to come top of mind if they're looking for shim stock, for example. They won't necessarily know that such a product exists, so they'll just go onto a generic distribution catalog kind of company, and they'll get something. And of course, we work with companies like that, as their suppliers, of course. But I think it's so helpful to be able to get into the classroom, get into the labs at universities, and show young engineers what's available on the market, and of course get them familiar with our product, because it's a great product.
Yeah, and making it simple with the color coding. I mean, that's the kind of thing that if you're thinking about your products and your company from a marketing and branding standpoint, that's the kind of thing that sticks in the user's mind.
Absolutely.
Where they might forget your name for whatever reason, but they know the color-coded guys who are there.
Exactly. They know the color-coded guys. And there have been people like, oh, you guys are the colors. Like I see meet people at shows or things like that. They won't even know what we do. They'll see my shirt or my cap or something like that. But like, oh, Artus, you guys do the color things, right? I'm like, yep, that's what we do. And that makes me happy because they know who we are. I don't care if you know what we do, but it means you've used our products in one way or another.
Yeah, exactly. That's amazing. That's a great way to end, actually. What a great introduction to the company, and congratulations for being, so solid and resilient that you've survived all these years now.
Yeah.
And you've taken it to the fourth generation. Many companies don't even make it to the second, as you know, in the family business. So.
Yes, we're very thankful. The credit goes to everyone, and we appreciate you stopping by and shedding some light on our business here.
I love it. I love to sort of pull the cover off some interesting local businesses like yours. So I would, Noah, if you could tell folks where to reach you or see and learn more about Artus products, that would be great. Sure.
We are Artus Corp on all social media channels, LinkedIn, Twitter, you name it, X, whatever you want to call it. You could reach out to us via email at shims@artusworld.com with any inquiries, and you could check out our website, artusworld.com.
Well, fantastic. Noah, you're a great spokesperson for the family and for the company, so congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Today. This has been Noah Katzenstein, who's the Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Artus Corporation here in New Jersey. And I'm Chris Santomassimo from the Think Factory podcast. We'll see you next time.